Hey guys, welcome back to a special YouTube exclusive episode of For Checking TV. I'm your host, Doug Lackey, and alongside me is my co-host, Peyton Trollinger. And tonight we are joined by a special guest, Nick Brlansky of Tip of the Iceberg and the Hockey Hotbed podcast. Nick, how we doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm ecstatic to be on For Checking TV. It's been a while. When I saw you came out with this, I was ready. I was ready for the call, and I'm glad I got it.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to have you on. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to the season. Training camp and prospect development camps are underway, and that has me a little bit giddy. I've been really looking forward to like getting hockey back. Peyton will tell you we've been grinding through like a way too early Olympic roster prediction type content because we need gap fillers. And after I was done recording last night, our main podcast episode, I literally was just like, oh God, we need hockey to come back because like it got to a point where I'm just like, I don't know how much longer I can like do that type of stuff and actually make it something of substance.
Well, I mean, training camp starting up this week, preseason hockey coming next week. The drought is over, gentlemen, and I'm very excited to see what we get when everything kicks off here in a couple weeks.
Thank God. It's been way too long without hockey.
Yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, this is going to be a jam-packed year. It's a good year to be a content creator, especially in hockey, because not only do you have an all-star game, you have an Olympic games, and then you just have the entire season itself on top of playoffs. So let's get into it. What we're trying to accomplish today is we're doing hot takes or exception or bold predictions for the 2021-2022 NHL season. Think out of left field. I think the most obvious bold prediction is going to be Jonathan Drouin scores over 25 goals. I think that he's really going to go off this year. Obviously had to step away from the game a little bit to take care of himself and his body and his mind, but good for him for getting the help he needed and getting himself back into the game. So that's what I think. I think Jonathan Drouin has over 25 points and is a big part of the Canadiens this season.
I mean, you look at the Montreal Canadiens, and geez, it's like they didn't even have an offseason. We talk about a slow season, but the Canadiens never had it. If we had a story to talk about, it was revolving around that team. I mean, you had the Kotkaniemi stuff, the Weber stuff, the Price stuff, everything throughout the offseason. That's not to mention the fact that they were one of the two teams in the Stanley Cup Finals. So everything in the last couple of months is basically revolved around Montreal. And now the Jonathan Drouin story comes out and there's kind of more details given and he's talking more freely about it. And, good for him for being able to do something, especially in that market. That is a tough market to be able to take yourself and remove yourself from the equation there for mental health issues. And, no matter what podcast I'm on, whether it's Hockey Hotbed or Tip of the Iceberg or a fun guest appearance on For Checking TV, I always want to stress that mental health is way more important. And as somebody that has dealt with some of it myself, that just mental health, if you can take a step away, do it. And don't be afraid of the consequences. You don't have to explain yourself as Drouin has, but he has, and I'm excited to hopefully see him go out there and tee off for the Montreal Canadiens because they could use it after the offseason they had, and he could definitely use it after the year that he's had.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like he's going to be like, they're like a self rental in a sense because they're going to need somebody to replace some of the production they've lost. Obviously, I believe Christian Dvorak's probably going to be better than Jesperi Kotkaniemi, but a lot of people I feel like are blowing that whole situation out of proportion. But if you put Drouin with Dvorak, I think you can see a lot of really good things from both players. Obviously Peyton had a hot take of his own. He thinks that Dvorak's going to play himself onto Team USA's fourth line. I don't really think that it's a bad take. I think that it's very, very possible, especially because he's going to go to Montreal where there's going to be a lot more exposure and a bigger opportunity to show off his skills in that market rather than in whatever type of market Arizona is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Dvorak playing in Arizona probably didn't help him out as much as I love the Coyotes. And I hope that they get something figured out with their arena situation. It didn't help him out playing there in the desert. So I hope that he can go to Montreal. And if he plays the way he's been playing, a lot more eyes are going to be open this season with him.
Yeah. And I mean, Dvorak was like a part of the short list of players that you just like want to get out of Arizona because you want them in that bigger market. You want them to succeed. I think Jacob Chikrin would benefit greatly from a change of scenery. I feel like if you put him in a bigger market, he's a top 5 Norris Trophy candidate each and every single year. And he's just not getting that due because he's in Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona isn't. Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Arizona, like you were saying, it's really not the best market, and it's just he definitely needs that exposure. And I know, Doug and you were talking about maybe sending him to like LA or one of those West Coast teams. That would be, that's a perfect market. LA is in desperate need of defensemen because you can't keep relying on a certain somebody who is made of glass. Yeah. So I really think he would just benefit.
Yeah, I think, if you can get Chikrin in LA, that would be ideal. Pair him with Doughty and, see what happens because let's be honest. There's one major thing that Forechecking TV was found on. I think one of the most foundational pieces of this entire podcast is probably informing all of our listeners of the actual output of players like Drew Doughty and Seth Jones. I think that's pretty much my entire mission on top of, other factors. So that's where I'm at with it. Nick, what's one of your bold predictions for the year, man?
Well, when you asked me to write some down, I feel like I wrote down too many, so I might not want to come out with all of them. But you did mention before we got on the show that you're a big Moritz Seider fan, and I'll let you take off from where I'm going to say, but I think Marco Rossi in Minnesota is going to win the 2022 Calder Memorial Trophy. I know Kirill Kaprizov won it last year for Minnesota. Do you know the last time there were back-to-back Calder Trophy winners from the same team?
No.
It took me a while scrolling back through, and I didn't know it offhand, so I'm not going to try to give myself that much credit. But it was Bobby Orr and Derek Sanderson in 1967-68. I think this is going to be the first year since then that we get to see the same team put back-to-back Calder Trophy winners. So I think obviously Kaprizov won it last year. I think Marco Rossi, after the tough year that he had, people forget that when that draft happened, one of the deepest drafts in recent memory, people said the most NHL ready guy was Marco Rossi. He had issues with injuries. He had issues with COVID and dealing with stuff resulting in that. But I think he's going to be ready to go this year. He's going to a team that is going to utilize him because they don't really have the greatest center depth. Do I think there's going to be a learning curve for him? Quite possibly. Also, the guy hasn't really played live hockey in a while, but I understand everybody loves Trevor Zegras. Everybody loves Cole Caulfield. I'm just saying Marco Rossi is going to stun some people.
I love that. I think it makes a lot of sense because one could say he's probably gonna be their second line center. Obviously, our buddy State of Hoppy may call me out on this, but he's probably gonna be playing with Kevin Fiala and Matt Boldy. And that's big stuff. Like that's a really good opportunity to put up a shitload of points and get yourself in that Calder conversation. But yeah, I like that a lot. Obviously, like Nick teased that, I'm a big Moritz Seider fan. I think that he'll finish top 3 in Calder voting this year. I think a lot of people don't really understand how good this guy is yet. I think that the sky's the limit for him. And although he seemed like a reach at 6th overall in 2019, I think Steve Yzerman got a steal with Moritz Seider, and I think a lot of fans are going to see that firsthand this coming season. Peyton, what are you thinking?
All right. I have come up with a take. I think that, it's kind of obvious, but just to reiterate, Columbus is going to be a threat.
Going to be what?
It's going to be a threat.
Really?
Columbus, yeah.
Really? That's
Ooh, I am intrigued.
I,
Tell
I
me
think
more.
I think Columbus is good. Listen, they made a
I
lot of
need
really good moves in the offseason. You know, first of all, you draft Cole Sillinger. Cole Sillinger is, awesome. You know, they made a really big splash by getting Jake Bean for the back end since they lost Seth Jones, which really is at a loss. You know, they got Gabriel Carlson as well. Obviously, Zach Brlansky is another player that, just like Mort Cedar, I don't think a lot of people know about, and I don't think a lot of people give him that much credit. I think he is probably one of their best players, if not the best player on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Also, you got Corpusalo and Elvis versus Lincoln's
Adam
backstopping
Boakfist.
Columbus. Adam Boakfist. See,
I'm very excited for Adam Boakfist.
I literally forgot about Adam Boakfist, and like this team is still very good. Like I was saying, you know, Corpusalo, Merce Lincoln's backstopping the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think they're gonna kind of go off of the goaltender. I can't remember his name. My apologies, but they're gonna run off of that momentum, and I really think they're gonna have a terrific year for Columbus, and I really think that a lot of NHL teams are not ready for that.
I like it. I like it a lot. But we have news to break live on air. The Minnesota Wild have finally extended Kirill Kaprizov.
I saw that.
5 years, $9 million cap hit. Let's go.
Let's go.
They essentially signed him for a bridge deal that was cheaper than I expected him to sign for. That's some shrewd work there by Billy Guerin, especially to get it done before camp. I like that.
Oh, this is a great day. This makes me very happy.
I'll get into my veins.
Dude, honestly though, like as soon as like you were talking, Peyton, and then like my phone lit up, my face lit up, and I texted Nick. I was like, "Are you ready to drop news live on air?" I feel
You
like
didn't even tell me what it
anytime-
was too, so you got me all excited sitting here rocking back in my chair. But no, that is awesome. I'm happy that got done. Now let's get some other restricted free agent deals done as well.
So the my bold prediction of Kirill Kaprizov plays this year in the KHL is officially dead.
Thank
Good
God
deal.
that take is dead.
Thank God it's dead. Dude, that Wild team's gonna be stacked. Like
Minnesota's going to be
excited.
another team to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of that comes down to like if Capo Kakinen takes a step forward and stuff like that. But moving forward, my hot take, probably my
Wait,
hottest
Doug, one
take.
second.
What's up?
I do want to respond to Peyton's take of the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to be good because Peyton, I know I've never met you in person, but you must be one crazy guy because that is a take. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't agree in the slightest, but I love the take. I mean,
Okay,
when I
fair,
look at
fair.
Columbus, I mean, you have a lot of players that are there that don't want to be there. when I look at Columbus, I mean, I see Max Domi that looks like he's behind bars or something. There's a lot of guys there that don't seem very comfortable there. I mean, I'm not sure how Patrick Laine feels about being there.
Mhm.
And they do have talent there. They're not going to be an easy team to beat. They never
No.
are. They're going to make it difficult. But I think in the division that they're in, as much as I like some of the players they have, you mentioned Werenski, who is vastly underrated in the NHL.
Mhm.
He was basically has only been in the spotlight whenever he puts his face in front of the puck. But other than that, I'm not sure how deep this team is. And it's a lot of question marks to me. But I do like going out on a limb. I do like you saying that. It's something that certainly caught me by surprise. I don't mean to cut you off, Dougie, but I did want to respond to that because I love going out on a limb like that. So I commend Peyton for that take.
Yeah, Peyton,
Fair
that's
enough.
one hell of a take because I think they're going to be one of the top 3 teams in the draft lottery this year. Honestly, I'm just going to come out and say it. I think they're going to be going for Shane Wright, which,
Play like shite for right.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
swear, if Columbus now tanks because I said that, I'm gonna be so mad. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so bad.
It's not really that they're going to tank. It's just I think that that division's so loaded that they're going to just struggle and probably be one of the bottom two teams in the division. Very similar to like what's been going on with Ottawa, um, especially last season. Like Ottawa played really good down the stretch at times. It's just, you know, especially now that they're going back into the Atlantic. That's gonna be interesting. But moving forward, this is probably the hottest take you're going to hear from me. The New Jersey Devils are going to offer sheet Quinn Hughes. They have the cap space to do it. They have the assets to do it.
You just talked yourself into this like 5 minutes ago, didn't you?
I did. I literally went on Cap Friendly, saw $12 million in cap space. I was like, yep, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. The PK Subban cap hit can come off the books at the end of this year, and that's how you pay Jack. It's over. It's done with.
all three Hughes brothers on the same team, that would be something to see.
You already know that GMs are going to be like falling head over heels for it.
It's funny because I think Luke Hughes will be playing on the best team of the three this year in Michigan University. So whether or not we see Quinn go to the Devils, which again, offer sheets, just hook that straight into my veins. The whole, just Barry Kotkaniemi stuff. I was in my nirvana that week, and there was actually not even news happening. It was just the possibility and just the anticipation of what the answer was going to be. So if Quinn Hughes gets offer sheet, especially how close we are to the season, one, Jim Benning is probably going to try to murder Tom Fitzgerald if that happens, because he's already having a tough enough summer. So if that happens, he's going to be pissed. But secondly, Jack might jump high enough to get noticed on certain radars around the world, because we saw how high he jumped when Luke got drafted to the Devils. If Quinn gets offer sheeted to the Devils, I would love to see it happen. I don't know if it would happen. You finagled it somehow in the salary cap with Cap Friendly, and I'd love to see it. But I don't know necessarily that's going to happen. But I don't know. Is that a hot take, saying that Luke Hughes is playing on the best team of the three?
No,
I just think it's funny.
I'll go as far as saying at the end of the year, I want an exhibition game between the University of Michigan and the team that's at the bottom of the standings in the NHL to see who wins.
Buffalo.
Because Michigan is a wagon.
They will be.
They're nuts. And somebody that Peyton completely forgot about is Kenton Johnson being drafted by the Blue Jackets. Like, he's going to be a big part of their future too. They're going to be, it's going to be massive. I have a Penguins hot take. Danton Heinen will outproduce what Jared McCann does in Seattle this year.
Okay. I hope that's true. I really hope that's true.
I really think Danton Heinen's gonna have a coming out party here. I mean, he was so good in Boston, and the biggest thing that I don't think any of us have really talked about on any of our podcasts or on any like form of media in Pittsburgh is when somebody went down on that perfection line for the Bruins, Danton Heinen was the guy who went in and played with Bergeron and Marchand or Bergeron and Pasta. I think the ability to potentially play with top end talent is there. And regardless, that's going to translate into being able to generate chemistry with Jeff Carter. Jeff Carter or whoever the hell the Penguins third line center is going to end up being. I think probably to open the year, it's probably going to be Evan Rodriguez, because may God help us all. But honestly, I think we're living in a world where Danton Heinen can realistically score 20 goals. I think he can score 20 goals, especially if what Nick and I were talking about before we started could potentially come to fruition. I have a weird feeling that this year is going to finally be the year that the Penguins get Alex Kerfoot in some sort of a trade. The Maple Leafs are desperate to clear cap. Obviously, the Penguins also have defensemen to blow through. I could see there potentially being a match somehow, some way. But, I just think that Heinen is going to be the big get of the summer for the Penguins. And, he might have 1 year magic similar to what Blake Como did that year he played with Gino.
Two things for you, Doug. One, you are fading your own guest in Brock McGinn, saying Heinen was the big get. You are fading your own guest for Forechecking TV. I love it. Secondly, I think it's probably more likely that the Penguins swing a Kerfoot deal than it is that Danton Heinen scores 20 goals. I'm sorry, but that to me, knowing where he's going to play, because the Penguins are stacked at wing, I think he's going to get third line minutes. I can see him putting up 10, maybe 15, maybe a couple more. I don't know if he quite gets to 20, just because I don't think he'll be used in the way that will get him there. I don't think he'll get much power play time. I don't think he's going to get much time on the top two lines. I truly don't, just because of how the wings are set up in Pittsburgh. But I do think that he will be an integral part for the Penguins. And don't get me wrong, I don't think enough people are talking about him, and I understand your excitement. And I did not know that little tidbit about him being a fill-in for the perfection line. But I do hope you're right. I love being proved wrong whenever it benefits the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I'm not sure he's going to quite get to 20 goals this year.
I mean, I still think Brock McGinn's going to be good too. He's either going to end up playing in a top six winger role, or he's going to be the Brandon Tanev replacement. There is no in between. Like, I think it's either or. I could see him playing with Sid, realistically, but I don't know. We're gonna have to just wait and see. My big thing is I'm really looking forward to seeing line combinations for what things might look like once camp breaks, because one has to wonder, is Jeff Carter actually going to play with Jake Gensel and Brian Rust, or like what's going to happen there?
I'm not exactly sure what's going to go on there. It's going to be yikes. I don't know. I'm a little nervous to see it, to be completely honest. And since you threw out a Penguins take, I guess I'll throw out a Penguins take. I was trying to save it for my show, but you know what, Dougie, I love you so much. I want to give it to your show. Jake Gensel is gonna push 100 points this year.
Oh my God, please!
I would literally pass away.
I mean, if you look at the last couple seasons, Jake Gensel is over a point a game player. He's a guy that produces on his own. And if you look at what I'm expecting to happen, and that is when Crosby returns, I expect Brian Rust to be bumped from that line and Jason Zucker to join them. Jason Zucker is going to take that net front spot, giving Gensel a little bit more freedom to be the sniper that he is. And that's why I think him and Crosby, with Zucker as the net front guy, him and Crosby are going to produce at a level that's going to put Jake Gensel around 100 points.
Peyton, are you hearing what I'm hearing?
Yes.
This is something I've been shouting into the void about for about 2 years now. I'm very, very intrigued by this. Also, last week we had Neil Villapiano on, Nick, and he is very anti Jake Gensel top line winger at the Olympics.
Very.
Well, that's a thing. People were putting Jake Line on the top line for Team USA.
I am. I think it's going to be Gensel, Matthews, and Kane.
As much as I would love to see that, I'm not quite sure, even though it is Mike Sullivan and he's probably going to have a little bit of love for his boy. I'm not sure I see Jake Gensel at the top line. I might have to agree with Neil on this one.
Either way, though, I would be perfectly fine if they did like Connor, Larkin, and Gensel as the third line.
Hey,
I think that would be nasty.
Well, I did have Shane Ryan, who was a big Team Canada supporter, on my one podcast last week, and he said Team USA is not even going to medal. The disrespect is real, but I think Jake Gensel definitely makes that team, and I think he's higher than the fourth line. But I'm not quite sure I'd go as far as the first line, Dougie. I don't know if I can jump on you with that one.
Okay. That's all right. Are you team Brian Rust makes the Olympic fourth line?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
I don't think it
I
happens.
just had to make sure. I think the case for Brian Rust going over Alex Tuck is rather asinine. So
Yeah. Hmm,
I don't know, man.
who knows?
I think the biggest thing for me with Jake is if they do that with Zucker, I mean, I think even if they did it with Kapanen, you would get similar results. I think, I feel like since Hornquist left, Jake has taken too much of like that net front type role. And
Hmm.
like we need him to get more space and just allow him to be creative and just shoot the puck on the perimeter more because that's a lot of what happened with when he was playing with Gensel and Rust or with Malkin and Rust. He's firing it from everywhere. Made the All-Star game. He was probably on pace for 50 goals at that point. And then Shabbat broke his collarbone. And it's just crazy, man. It's absolutely nuts. Actually my biggest Penguins hot take that wasn't the Danton Heinen thing was we're going to see Gensel, Malkin, and Rust together again. I
I
think
didn't hate that line.
I think it's way better. I think, although Sid likes Gensel on his wing, Jason Zucker does perfectly fine there. And I think we're at a point now where it's all about maximizing the lineup, maximizing your opportunities to win. Do Zucker, Crosby, and who God knows who else. If you find another center that isn't Jeff Carter, I would say Jeff Carter plays right wing with Sid.
I mean, they have the history. They played together at the Olympics back in what,
Yes.
2014?
Yeah.
So,
and in 2010 as well, and I think the big thing is like there were times in spurts where you did see Jeff Carter take shifts with Sid after the trade.
there was.
Especially in the Islander series. You saw that a lot. So I wonder if they don't go out and get some sort of a center. I'm not sure who it would be. I mean, it's way too early to even be thinking about stuff like this, but if they were to go out and get a center to play with Heinen and Brock McGinn, I would say put Carter with Sid and Zucker and run Gensel, Malkin, and Rust because, I mean, dude, like we're running out of shots at this thing.
Yeah.
I was helping my dad distribute our season tickets to the people that split with us. And I was like looking at like the season ticket holder perks. There's not a whole lot there. There's not a whole lot of incentive to really stay in it. And it's like the moment that they miss the playoffs, we're going to go back to, I think we're going to go back to right where they were in attendance, like before Sid and Gino, because I mean, like Nick, this, Peyton, this as well. I can go sit in the 200 level of PPG Paints Arena on a weeknight when I'm off for like $47,
Yeah.
Whereas some people are paying for like $108 a piece for their tickets in the lower bowl. And, there's really no crazy incentive to it, So I'm just curious to see how Ron Hextall and company approach this whole thing because, we've all made jokes about like the last dance on this show, but this one might honest to God be the last dance because you have guys that their contracts are up. Letang, Malkin, and Rust are all up at the end of the year. You're going to do everything you can to retain Letang and Malkin. And Brian Rust is probably going to go out and cash out somewhere on the West Coast. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's tough. And of course, Hextall saying, oh, we're going to negotiate with those guys in August. And now we're at 20th, the 21st night of September, and we haven't had anything from them. So obviously the small talks that they've had haven't worked. But I mean, when you talk about the lineup, I do want to revisit that really quickly. There's one name that you did mention, that was Kasperi Kapanen. So whenever I look at it, yeah, Zucker, Crosby, maybe you put Brock McGinn there. And then maybe you run your Gensel, Malkin, Rust second line, which is also just a murderer's row of scorers. And then that leaves Jeff Carter, Danton Heinen, and Kasperi Kapanen as your third line, which to me is a matchup line that could score a lot of goals, which is what the Penguins are going to need in their depth. Because as of right now, I don't see it. Even, if you don't have Crosby and Malkin out, I don't see the scoring depth right now. But if you're able to somehow get Kasperi Kapanen to happily play in your bottom six, it's only profitable.
Yeah, and I think that's a very high possibility because him and Carter did have chemistry in a pinch last year. Because they kept moving guys around on that third line throughout the entirety of Carter's tenure here. And I think the best combination they had was probably when McCann and Kapanen were with them. So, run Danton Heinen there. And, the biggest thing for me is having Evan Rodriguez take the Tanev spot on the blue line. I think that's big because Evan Rodriguez looked really good in that spot at times last year whenever Tanev was out. I think it's important. I think he plays a good defensively responsible game, and he can score a little bit too, especially with how Aston Reese and Blueger were scoring towards the end of the year last year. I think that's a line that can not only put up a couple goals here and there, but still suffocate you defensively, gives me a lot of Max Talbot vibes with whenever he was playing in the bottom six of the 08 and 09 runs, so that's something to look forward to as well.
I'm not sure how far away we are from hot takes for the entirety of the NHL. I did have one more, and it's just simply beware of the Winnipeg Jets this year.
Okay. Yeah.
That team, I'm telling you right now, that team they're going to contend. 3 of the last 4 years, they were eliminated by a Stanley Cup finalist. So they don't lose to bad teams. That's for sure. Not in the postseason. So yeah. I think they've added some key pieces there. And I think they already had some very interesting pieces to begin with. So I say beware of the Winnipeg Jets. And that's where I'll leave that one.
And if you get Dubois going, that might be just enough to put you over the edge, because he wasn't really there last year. After the trade, he wasn't there a whole lot. And, the biggest thing for the Jets that I'm curious about is what's Cole Perfetti's hand in all of this? Is he going to be on the NHL roster this year? Because if he is, that's massive.
That's just another. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just another guy that you're probably going to have just chilling in your bottom six that has untapped scoring ability and untapped playmaking ability that is just going to continue to help your chances of being a cup contender. And let's be honest. I think I can say this. They probably have the best goaltender in the world right now in Connor Hellebuck.
Very well may be right if I could speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good take. Peyton, what do you got?
Okay. Nick, I know you're wearing the jersey, but it's about the Blackhawks. They will not make the playoffs. Chicago will not be a playoff contender. I'm looking at this roster right here, and you got Kirby Dach, you got DeBrincat, Kubalik, but there's no youth at all. This team is way too veteran focused or older focused, and the reason why is because Kane and Taves don't want to rebuild. That's why, even though they've come out and said that they are rebuilding. Taves and Kane from that franchise. We already know this. And, you're looking at the goaltending depth here. Obviously, you got Fleury, and I love Fleury. But, come on, the guy's 36. I know he just won a Vezina, but, dude, I just don't think this is going to be a good year for Chicago at all. And they just with this roster that I'm looking at right now, they're not making playoffs.
Really?
I think so.
That's interesting. Because I'm looking at it right now, just the cap friendly depth chart. Their top nine's pretty sick. So it's DeBrincat, Doc, and Kane, Kubalik, Taves, and Tyler Johnson, and then Dylan Strome, Henrik Borgstrom, and Alex Nylander. I mean, that looks pretty good on paper.
The reason why it looks good on paper, but the thing is, the reason why I brought up Fleury is I think that he's going to implode this season. I don't think he's going to do well this season.
It wouldn't be out of character.
Like
Yeah,
I said, it really hurts me to say that because I love Fleury, but like, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those truthers that are like, oh my God, he's coming back to Pittsburgh. Oh my God. No. But like, no, it's not going to be his season this year. And I mean, when you look at the backups, I mean, you got Delia and Subban are really the only notable backups.
They have Kevin Lankinen.
Yeah, I was about to say
they do have Kevin Lincoln, but like
who's basically an NHL caliber starter.
That's only 1 out of 5, really. Are you really going to rely on Kevin Lankinen for the whole season?
They did last year.
I don't think so.
All right. What you got?
I just said that's just me though.
You're good. You're good. My other take is the Ottawa Senators are going to be god awful, and a big part of that reason is likely going to be Matt Murray. I believe that Matt Murray is going to be so bad that he gets the final 2 years of his contract bought out, and he'll be a free agent to open 2022 free agency. And if that happens, look out.
I don't know. I mean, it might be because Shane Ryan kind of talked some whispers into my ear last week, but I do think Ottawa is going to be much better this season. I mean, they're in a pretty difficult division in the Atlantic. I think there's some teams that are a little overhyped in that division, but I think Ottawa, if you look at last season, and Doug, you mentioned earlier that they had a good finish to the season. If they would have won, I mean, they started 2-12-1 or something like that at the beginning of the season. If they would have won 3 or 4 more of those games, they would have beat out the Montreal Canadiens. That's how good their end of the season was. They would have been a playoff team, and the Canadiens would not have been the team that we got to see last year go throughout the entirety of the playoffs. Now, Matt Murray is the one thing that scares me because I don't necessarily think he's going to bounce back as much as some Ottawa fans are hoping. But if he implodes, I do believe in a guy like Philip Gustafsson to step up. And I think if he's able to weather the storm, that team might not be a playoff team. I'm not going to say they're a playoff lock. They might sneak into contention. That might be a thing that they do, because when I look at the rest of that team, I see a pretty solid depth of forwards that are very young and they're young, but they have some experienced guys like Brady Tkachuk being 22 years old, and me considering him experienced just gives me a migraine a little bit. But at the same time, I think that team is well on its way. And especially you look at the way they finished last season. I don't remember their exact record after that 2-12-2 start, but they finished off the season 6-1-1. And I think you see more of the same from the Senators this year. It does give me a little bit of pause that they're going to be hoping that Matt Murray is going to turn it around, because I'm not sure that's something that we can truly expect.
All right, Peyton, you have another take? No. So here's my take. The Maple Leafs will win a playoff round. They'll make it to the Eastern Conference.
They better.
They're going to make it to the Eastern Conference final, and they're going to fizzle out. But
where have I heard that before?
They're not making it through Florida.
Oh, that's a hot take in and of itself.
Also, you just set me up for another hot take. Mackenzie Weegar is an elite defenseman, and he's better than Aaron Ekblad.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man. That's just I really think that the that the Leafs are going to be motivated to actually get this monkey off their back, because we were talking about it before we started recording. God knows what goes on if they don't. you know.
Mm.
Um, I think the thing that's gonna be difficult is like honestly like their defense. Like there's something about it, man. I just don't understand like how their defense can be struggle so mightily at times. But they have the forward depth thing figured out. Like they really do because you have Michael Bunting, who's a very underrated forward in the league. You got Nick Ritchie and Andre Kasha for cheap. David Camp has the ability to be a very good defensive bottom six center. And, once you're able to determine who replaces Zach Hyman, everything is going to fall into place in terms of how that team is going to be depth scoring wise. And I think that that's going to give them the best chance that they've had in quite some time.
Every Toronto Maple Leaf fan that is tuned into this is giving you and here's a verbal meme. It's from Avengers Endgame. It's don't give me hope, because I mean, you're saying that they need to figure it out this year. They've needed to figure it out for the past couple of years. I mean, they couldn't beat Columbus in the play-in. They couldn't put away Montreal in a 3-1 series lead. They're past due to figuring it out. And the fact is they're coming into the season with more hope, because I am going to say that Auston Matthews is probably going to be better than we've ever seen him, because he seems to do that every year. Mitch Marner is going to be a guy that's going to be very good. And I think that they're going to score a lot of goals. Do I think that's going to be enough in that division? I don't. I truly don't. I think Florida is much better than people are giving them credit for, and people are actually giving them credit now. So that's saying something. And then you still have Tampa Bay. And far be it for me to be the guy that counts out Tampa Bay, who's going for a three-peat, but it's a tough division.
Yeah, that's true. I got one more that I'm kicking around in my head. The Los Angeles Kings will make the playoffs.
I like it.
I think,
Okay.
dude, I think they're there. Obviously we had a nice little episode probably about like 2 months ago now with Jordy Cunningham from the Kings Den. And that was before they went out and signed Philip Deneau. And I think right around the time they traded for Victor Arvidsson, I think that they're in a good spot. I don't really know what line Deneau is going to play on, because you still have Byfield and Turcotte to factor in on top of Kopitar. But like, if you can have Philip Deneau in a bottom six role, similar to like what he was doing in Montreal, obviously that doesn't make sense with what you're paying him, but like you have so much cap flexibility with guys on ELCs and stuff that you can do it and get away with it. But I think that sets them up for success. I think they're going to swing a mid-season trade for a big name defenseman, potentially Jacob Chikrin, because that's like the one thing that they're missing is they're missing that big name defenseman. Doughty, Doughty's okay, but like he's starting to lose his luster, I feel. I don't know. That's just me. That's just my opinion, and they're going to have Brant Clark. I don't know if he's going to play in the league this year, but like long-term, that's a big one. I think that he's going to be really important to their success. And, the truth is he might make the roster out of the training camp, because he was playing in Slovakia last year against grown men and held his own. I think that that's going to be something to watch. And obviously LA already has had the pieces in place. I think, Cal Peterson's one hell of a goalie, and, Jonathan Quick can still be good in spurts. So I think you add in this youth movement to mix with the veteran leadership that they have there, and Doughty and Dustin Brown and guys like that. And I think they're in a good spot. I think they're in business.
Yeah, Peyton, I don't know if you have anything on that.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I probably would have said probably like maybe wait a year, but after I was just looking at the roster. I mean, I don't think that's a bad take at all. I think that's a good, Cal Peterson. He's a developing goalie. We've already seen how he can play. I think he can really backstop this Kings team. And you like you're saying, like the youth movement. You got Byfield, Turcotte, all of these all these guys, and LA is going to be one of those sleeper teams. I feel like people aren't going to think that they're good because I think people still think they're bad.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, guys. You have anything else?
I do not.
All right. Good deal, guys. Well, thanks for coming on, Nick. You have anything coming up with either hockey hotbed or tip of the iceberg?
We're just gearing up for the regular season. Tip of the iceberg, we had Nick Horwat at the development camp the last couple of days. So on Thursday, we're going to have him coming and telling us about what he saw and some of the things that he saw. And as far as the hockey hotbed is concerned, we're starting division previews. So that's starting this Friday, and then we'll have them obviously coming out leading up to the season. But other than that, just check them out on social media. Basically, how they sound, Hockey Hotbed Pod and Iceberg Podcast, and you can follow me at Nick_Brlansky. But thank you guys for having me on. I had a great time.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, this was a special exclusive YouTube episode of Forechecking TV. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Forechecking TV. Subscribe to us on YouTube and find us wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you guys and good night.